a very warm welcome to the Question Hour show from the Parliament House complex, where we bring you the important unstarred or the written questions that were asked by the members of the Rajya Sabha during the 249 session of the Upper House and the response given by the government. I'm Kriti Mishra, and joining me is my colleague Akhilesh Suman. So Akhilesh, let's commence the Question Hour show. And the first question that we've picked up is to the Ministry of Earth Sciences, and this one has been asked by member Hussain Dalwai. And Mr. Dalwai has asked the measures taken by the government to ensure that detrimental environmental factors such as heat wave, droughts, etc. occurring due to rising temperature are brought under the control in the country.
Very serious question indeed, Kriti, and the answer is very elaborate. You know, the climate change is a situation the whole world is facing, and the government has told that climate change is a global phenomenon and requires cooperation of all nations based on the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities. India is a party of United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, its Kyoto Protocol and the Paris Agreement. India is meeting its commitments under the aforesaid instruments. The Government of India is implementing National Action Plan on Climate Change, that is called NAPCC, which comprises of 8 missions in specific areas of solar energy, enhancing energy efficiency, water agriculture, Himalayan ecosystem, sustainable habitat, green India and strategic knowledge on climate change. These missions inter alia focus on mitigation and adaptation aspects of climate change. Action under these 8 missions is implemented by their respective nodal ministry. And you know, the 33 states and union territories have prepared their respective state action plan on climate change in lines with NAPCC, taking into account states specific issues relating to climate change. These SAPCCs inter alia outline sectors specific and cross sectoral priority action, including adaptations. So, it is a very elaborate thing, and every state has to make their own plans also in addition to the central plan. As an adaptive measure regarding heat waves, India Meteorological Department in collaboration with local health departments have started heat action plan in many parts of the country to forewarn the heat waves and advising action to be taken during such occasions. Heat action plan became operational since 2013. The heat action plan is comprehensively early warning system and preparedness plan for extreme heat events. The plan presents immediate as well as long term actions to increase preparedness, information sharing and response coordination to reduce the health impacts of extreme heat on vulnerable populations. National Disaster Management Authority and IMD are working with 23 states that recorded high temperatures leading to heat wave conditions to develop heat action plan. And you know that India is a country where heat waves are also in abundance and also the cold waves. So, it is an interesting situation, and that is why preparedness has been on all the counts. And the next question, Kriti, is by K. Ravindra Kumar, and he has asked the Food Processing Industry Ministry whether all the mega food parks for which government gave approval have become operational. This is the question, and I think India is an agriculture country, and the food processing industry should grow in a good proportion. So, what is the answer by the government?
In the response to this question, the government has given a very detailed reply, and the government goes on to say that it has sanctioned a total of 42 slots of mega food park projects in the country. Out of these, Ministry has accorded final approval to 38 mega food park projects and in principle approval to 4 mega food park projects. These projects are at various stages of implementation. So far, 16 mega food park projects at Chittoor, which is in Andhra Pradesh, Haridwar, which is in Uttarakhand, Tumkur, which is in Karnataka, Fazilka in Punjab, Nalbari in Assam, Khargone in Madhya Pradesh, Murshidabad in West Bengal, Raigad in Odisha, Satara in Maharashtra, Ajmer in Rajasthan, Udham Singh Nagar again in Uttarakhand, Surat in Gujarat, Aurangabad in Maharashtra, Una in Himachal Pradesh, West Godavari in Andhra Pradesh and West Tripura in Tripura are already operational. The government further goes on to say that there are no state-specific reasons for the delay. However, mega food park projects got delayed due to a variety of reasons, including difficulty in getting loan from bank, delay in statutory clearances from the state government or agencies, changes in DPR during implementation of the project, delay on the part of promoters to contribute their equity, or change in promoters midway. Let's move on to the next question, which has been asked by member Piramal Nathwani, and this one is to the Ministry of Minority Affairs. And Mr. Nathwani has asked about the funds allocated by the National Minorities Development and Finance Corporation, called the NEP-DFC, along with details of utilization of the funds for the last 3 years.
Yes, Kriti, the answer is quite elaborate, but I will go to the precise situation. National Minority Development Financial Corporation implements its schemes for the socio-economic development of the backward sections amongst the 6 centrally notified minorities, namely Jain, Buddhist, Sikh, Parsi, Muslim and Christians, through the state channelizing agencies, that is called SCAs, nominated by the respective state governments or UTs administrations. The fund allocated utilized to the SCA in Gujarat during the financial year 2016-17, 2017-18 and 2018-19 are rupees 2 crore, rupees 2.87 crore and rupees 4.50 crore respectively. No fund was allocated to Jharkhand during the last 3 years, as implementation of NMDFC program through the Jharkhand State Minority Development and Finance Corporation was started during the current financial year only, and an amount of 3 crore has been disbursed in June 2019. So, this is the answer, and details are always on the website. State wise details are present on the website, and scheme wise details are also present on the website. So, that is why I told that it is a very elaborate answer, and our viewers can go to the website and they can see for themselves. So, let us come to another question, Kriti, and this question is by Vijila Satyanath. The question is for Ministry of Shipping, and the question is whether India has an extensive 7,500 kilometer of coastline with 12 major ports and just over 200 minor ports, of which 139 are functioning. So, it is about geography, about operational capacity. So, what is the answer?
Well, again, the government has given a very comprehensive reply to this question, and the government goes on to say that there are 12 major ports and 200 non-major ports in the country along India's coastline, which is about 7,500 kilometers in length, and also ports that handle around 95% of the EXIM trade by volume in the country. While the major ports are under the administrative control of Ministry of Shipping, the non-major ports are under the jurisdiction of respective state maritime boards or also the state governments. Out of the 200 non-major ports, around 65 ports handle cargo, and the others are port limits where no cargo is handled, and these are used by fishing vessels and by small ferries to carry passengers across the creeks. Let's move on to the next question asked by member Vijay Reddy, and this one is also to the Ministry of Shipping. And Mr. Reddy has asked about the details of projects taken up and completed on public-private partnership mode by Visakhapatnam Port Trust during the last 3 years.
The answer is quite elaborate, Kriti, and you know that India does have one of the biggest coastlines in the world, any country does have, and also that Visakhapatnam port is also one of the most important ports for the country, and that is why I think the question is related to Visakhapatnam Port Trust. The answer is quite elaborate. Development of EQ10 berth for handling liquid bulk cargo, 1.84 metric ton capacity, 55.38 completed on 25 July 2017, and it is operational now. Upgradation of existing mechanized facility at outer harbour for handling iron ore, 16.20 metric ton capacity, 580.89 completed on 31 March 2018 and operational. Extension of existing container terminal in the outer harbour, 0.54 metric TEU capacity, 633.11 awarded on 2 March 2019 with 2 years construction period. And the another part of the answer, The PPP operators are free to collect tariff lesser than tariff caps notified by TAMP. However, proportionate reduction in revenue share to the ports is not envisaged in the concession agreements. Under the PPP arrangement, all project parameters such as concession period, tariff, price indexation and technical parameters are clearly stated upfront, and shortlisted bidders specifies the proportion of revenues from user charges that they are willing to share with the port trust. The bidder who offers the highest revenue share is awarded the contract, and a concession agreement is signed by the concessioning authority and concessionaire PPP operators. As such, any charges in the project parameters leads to post bid modification. Okay, let us move to another question, Kriti, and this question is by Amar Shankar Sable, and the question is related to Ministry of Tourism, and the question is whether tourism is very essential for rural economy, keeping in view that the present share of rural tourism is only 0.3% and hotel rooms in these areas are only 10% in comparison to China. Also, the market of rural tourism is scattered and it is not being promoted effectively. So, it is a very heavy loaded question. What is the answer by the government?
Well, again, it's a very detailed reply given by the government, and the government goes on to say that the Ministry of Tourism has launched the Swadesh Darshan scheme for integrated development of theme-based tourist circuits for development of tourism infrastructure, including last-mile connectivity in the country. Recognizing the potential of rural tourism in the country, the ministry has identified rural circuit as one of the thematic circuits identified for development under this scheme and is aimed at leveraging tourism as a force multiplier for revitalizing the rural economy and for giving both domestic and international tourists a glimpse of rural aspect of India. The projects for development of tourism related infrastructure, including rural tourism projects proposals, are identified for development under the circuit in consultation with the state governments or union territories and are sanctioned subject to availability of funds, submission of suitable detailed project reports, adherence of scheme guidelines, also utilization of funds released earlier. The objectives of the Swadesh Darshan scheme include creating employment through active involvement of local communities and promoting community-based development and pro-poor tourism approach. The Ministry of Tourism promotes India as a holistic destination, including ancient, heritage and culture as part of its ongoing activities, releases print, electronic, online and other outdoor media campaigns in the domestic and international markets under the Incredible India brand line to promote tourism products and destinations of the country, including rural tourism. The ministry also promotes the tourism destinations and products through its websites and publicity and promotional material produced by it from time to time. So, Akhilesh, these were the questions that we've picked up for our viewers in today's edition of Question Hour. But on the other side, we'll have Prashn Kal in Hindi with our colleagues Arvind Singh and Kriti Singh. Stay tuned.